Tracy, and we're going to be baking up some cakes with great taste.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my kitchen. It's been a while since I did a video. Seems like life has a way of keeping me busy. But anyhow, today I am going to be making a little mermaid cake. And I'm going to show you a few tips on how to do your picture. I know it's kind of difficult when you're putting a picture on a cake, so there's a few different ways you can do it that might help you. Okay, don't let me down. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And let's get right into our video. I do make some homemade cakes, but for this cake, I am just going to be using a box mix. So I just do what the box tells me to do. And that's pretty simple. Very seldom do I have a piece of shell that gets in my egg, but today I did. And I have heard these little tricks that tell me that shell will attract shell. So I'm going to try it and see if it works. And from what I can tell, I'm sorry to say it appears to be a myth because it is not working. So I did find the shell. Now I've got to get it out of the egg whites. And like I said, the little hack that says that shell attracts shell did not work for me. When you're doing a white cake mix, you can put the yellow in there if you want. It will make the cake firmer, but it also will make the cake look yellow. And I want my white cakes to look white. This cake is going to be half and half. So now let's get my chocolate mix together. I'm going to move the white out of the way because we don't want any chocolate splatter in it. When I'm baking a cake, I always use a good pan release. It helps your cakes to come out of the pan nice and even without half of it sticking. I just take a brush and spread that all around the bottom and around the sides of my pan. Just in case you haven't seen any of my other videos, I also use baking strips that go around the outside of the pan, and they are to make sure the cake is nice and level and moist. But what you do is you soak these in cool water while you're getting your mixes together, and then you just pin them together with the little pins that come with them and get them ready to go around your pan. You want to make sure they're nice and snug because you want to keep that moisture around the edges of your cake. Okay, my baking strips are on my pan, nice and snug, and now it's ready to put in my cake mixes. Some of that chocolate in there before that starts running over to the other side too much. I also will give you a little hint. The chocolate will rise a little higher than the vanilla side, so you want to spread it out a little further past the middle. Your cake should probably cook for about 30 to 35 minutes, and while it's cooking, I am going to be getting some of the icing stuff ready. One thing you do need to know and always have on hand is the best way to know if a cake is good and done is the toothpick. If you insert it and it comes out and it's clean, your cake is ready. But you don't want to wait until you're sure it's going to come out clean. You want to try to do that a little bit ahead of time because you don't want to overcook your cake. So usually the best way to know if a cake is almost done is your nose. You can smell it when it gets close to being done, and then I go in and try the toothpick. and it works pretty much every time, and your cake will pull away from the sides a little bit, but if you wait too long, then you've dried it out and it's overcooked. Okay, let's get it cooking, and I will see you when I'm ready to ice and decorate. My recipe for buttercream is very simple. It is a 2-pound bag of powdered sugar, a cup of baker's shortening, 1/2 cup of water, and some vanilla butter drops. And just put all that in there, and then I'll mix it up with my KitchenAid mixer. I use about 4 drops of the butter drops. And that's all that goes into it. And I have a cover for my KitchenAid mixer that helps with that dust cloud that you get when you mix up your icings. Kind of tap them on the sides a little bit, and that keeps some of that dust down as well. I went on and doubled this recipe because I'm going to be making a 1/2 sheet cake and it uses more icing. So you start your mixer out slow, and then you can speed it up after it gets going real good. And it's important to scrape the bowl before you continue. Make sure you get everything on the edges down in the bowl. Now it's ready to mix for about 4 minutes. Another tip I may or may not have mentioned before is you always want to icing towards you. It will cause you to have less crumbs in your icing, and then you don't have to worry about putting on more than one coat. I usually take some time making sure my icing is super smooth, but this cake is going to look like water, so it does not need to be smooth. So I told you I would tell you a little bit about how I'm going to put the picture on here. There are several different ways of getting your picture on the cake. You can freehand it. You can use a stencil if you have a stencil, or you can even use a piece of paper like I'm going to do, and I cut out, or actually I printed on my computer a printout, and I am going to use that to draw my picture. I have a lot of colors made up here to use. I have a total of 11 different colors. I didn't realize it was going to take so many, but that's a lot of colors. The way I like to put a picture on a cake is to lay the picture down on it like so, and take a toothpick and outline it. It's just what I do. I like doing that. It seems to be effective, and I don't really care for the piping gel, so this is the best way for me. I basically just take my toothpick, go around the outside and get my basic outline before I start, and then it makes the rest of it much easier. Like I said, you can also use piping gel, and if you do piping gel, you pipe that on, you put your picture under wax paper and you pipe onto the wax paper, and then you turn it upside down onto your cake. But I don't care to use the piping gel, so that's the reason why I do it this way. Now I cut out some areas. Some places it's hard to get them positioned exactly right, so I cut out some areas for positioning. And I did the same thing with her face, because that's going to be the hardest part of all to do on the whole entire cake. And I want to do it the best that I can do it. Faces are never easy. So you do what you gotta do. Then her shoulder goes right here. And I think that is the only parts that I cut out on that. See, that gives her her basic outline. And then over here I have her tail. It's supposed to look like she's kind of under the water. So that's why you don't see all of her body. And there you go. She has her eyes right here. This is her nose. Like I said, faces can be very difficult. I'm going to start with the eyes because they seem to be the most trouble. If I do them first and get them out of the way, then maybe things will work better. I love all the cakes that I see that are built and cut and shaped and all of that. But that's not really been my thing so much as drawing on cakes. I love a challenge of taking a cartoon character or someone's imagination and drawing it on cake. It's odd because I always wanted to be an artist growing up and never could really do artwork on paper. I usually try to get the hardest parts done first, which is usually the face. And then I outline all of the rest of the picture with icing. And then after that, you just kind of fill it all in. And then you have to do some more outlining after you have done the picture to make it more defined looking. It's always interesting to watch as the picture starts to come together. And I use the star tip to fill in all of the spaces on my picture. And then, as I stated, after that, I'll go back and outline everything once again. Here I am working on a rock and a little bit of seaweed and some flowers. I wanted it to appear that her body is coming up around the rock and her tail is kind of flapped around beside of it. So that's what I'm doing here. This cake has a ton of fine details, and it won't look just right unless you make sure you include them all. I think that's enough detail. Now let's get happy birthday written on this cake and get the border put on. Don't forget the bubbles. I think the birthday girl was very pleased with this cake, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Okay, don't let me down. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel.